In Jesus' name, be exalted. Amen.
Amen.
You may have your seat. I want to talk this morning, moving from a question mark to an exclamation point. Moving from a question mark to an exclamation point. If we don't have any testimonies or way of connecting within ourselves, we only need to look at the headlines and know that life can generate its share of questions. If you don't have any questions in your own life, then you can borrow some from the headlines. This week, a doctor, 50-year-old doctor, was charged 45 years. They call him the chemo doctor because he was giving chemo and giving out diagnoses of cancer to those who did not have cancer in order to defraud Medicare. He said in his sentencing hearing, he said that power corrupts. The quest for power corrupts. And I have failed. Yes, I have failed. If we don't have any questions within ourselves, we can borrow some from the headlines in that life can start out in one direction with good intentions. We can dedicate ourselves to a cause. We can even dedicate ourselves to our faith in Jesus Christ. But if we're not careful, we can find ourselves going in the wrong direction. This week, not only did we see the chemo doctor, but we also saw both college and NFL football players charged and arrested for domestic violence and battery against women. Two 19-year-old Florida State University college football quarterback and running back charged, dismissed. Their careers, college careers, as far as sports and athletics are concerned, are over. Because somewhere along the line, the message has gotten twisted and they've taken their physical strength and used it to abuse someone else. In the NFL, we've seen the same thing. It's a trend. It's a tragic trend that is going throughout our sports culture. This idea of not being able to control and deal with emotions and anger and lives that started off well dedicated, running in the right direction with power, with athletic skill, with might, are now frayed and going in the wrong direction, if anywhere at all. We talked last week, we talked about us as a church, us as people of faith, not being immune to those who go astray. We talked about how with Nicodemus, Jesus told him that he was looking at the wrong thing. You've got to look at the exalted Christ and find our strength and find our peace and find our faith. That this idea of faith, this idea of belief, this idea of trust that we all talk about inside the church. I am of the faith community. I have faith. I believe. We can find itself distracted. We can find ourselves wanting to do the right thing, but yet finding ourselves falling apart. I have faith. I believe in God. I go to church. I read my Bible. I was raised in the church. I've given my life. I've been baptized. But yet life has a way of distracting. The realities of life, the vice grip of life, the true things that happen to us, they really do hurt, they really do happen. They're not made up, it's not just in our mind. It's true, it's happened. It has crouched down, it has looked us in the face. And now my faith is tripped up. My faith is laid to the side. My stress is having me to ask questions like, how am I going to fix this? How am I going to get out of this? What am I going to do? And the problem, the challenge that we have as Christians, as believers in Jesus Christ, is that we allow ourselves to look in the wrong direction.
Come on, preacher.
This morning, I want us to look. I want us to gain, to look at the antidote. If it is so common, if it is not just something that we have to borrow from somebody else, but for each of us, we have a testimony. We have a story of our own of how there have been times, there's been certain crafted situations that every time we face them, they cause our faith to retract. If that's our story, and I know that it is, because it's mine. I believe it's all of ours this morning. We're going to get the antidote. The 13th verse of Psalms 21. Be exalted is the antidote. Before we can get to the 21st chapter, in the 13th verse,